for taking the time to share this video. Big up on a nice clean self to the hardworking people them and the one that more always out here working and working smart but not hard. Make sure you share the content to your family members except the children them underage. Let's jump right into this one. Miscarriage of justice. Imagine that you're being locked up for murder over 12 years and you didn't do it. Them say want it, can't get it, and get it, don't want it. Them say them young youth now these days are giving away them freedom while people are fighting to get freedom. Let's jump in this one. When I itch. Let's jump in this one. Radam.
Dwayne Williams never thought he'd spend the rest of his life behind bars, but for nearly 12 years, that's exactly where he found himself, falsely accused of a horrific crime he didn't commit. This is the story of a man who fought against a flawed system, a case full of lies, and a fatal fire that changed everything. His only hope? That someone, someday, would listen.
I didn't want to spend the rest of my life like that. Prison is like hell. It's like hell with no escape.
Dwayne Williams refused to be shackled by a system designed to keep him down. On August 20th, 2012, Williams received a call from his sister. His mother's live-in boyfriend, 67-year-old Bobby Cross, and his stepson, 42-year-old Daryl Sims, were dead, victims of a mysterious house fire.
Are you a Canadian that doesn't?
Could you imagine? Wow. Let's continue.
I don't believe her, but I'm kind of thinking, like, why would he play like this?
Williams and Cross never got along. The night of the fire, Williams said they argued, and Cross pulled a shotgun, threatening to kill him if he didn't leave. So he did, to a friend's house downriver.
Their family was telling the police that I did it, and the police was looking for me.
Because neighbors related to the victims told police about the heated, alcohol-fueled argument. Witness statements also showed Janet Smith, Williams' mother, even voiced fears that her son could be responsible. But investigators did not suspect arson. Detroit Fire Lieutenant Patrick McNulty found no evidence of accelerants, foul play, or smoking materials, according to his report, where he listed the cause undetermined. The Wayne County Medical Examiner ruled the deaths accidental, caused by smoke inhalation. So why was Williams arrested for arson and murder 7 months later?
I was shocked, really. I didn't know, because I thought that was over with.
So how did they come to the conclusion? Did they have any evidence against you?
No.
Just this guy's word?
Yeah.
This guy, Gary Jennings, who had recently been pulled over while on probation, arrested for selling DVDs, smoking pot, and driving without a license. He came up with a story that would change everything. Jennings claimed Williams had confessed to him that he set the fire on Fielding Street.
This guy didn't know a single detail, and they basically went with him saying that I told him I did it, and that was it.
Records reveal Jennings told Sergeant Michael Russell that during a phone call, Williams confessed to starting the fire over rent money. Police and prosecutors seized on Jennings' account, building their case without verifying the phone records.
Wow.
There was no physical evidence, only the victim's family and friends pointing the finger at Williams.
So imagine that your family who's supposed to protect you, who's supposed to save you from the law kind of thing, help you gather your evidence, help you get freed, is the one that giving evidence towards you that you did. You start a fire and you're killing the people in the house. But now at the end of the day, when you really think about it, you're an innocent man. Innocent in this wicked system. Innocent in this system that holds on black men all the time. What a wicked system. But we're not surprised. It's usually like that. Right? Let's continue.
Persuading the medical examiner to change the cause of death from accidental to homicide. Authorities soon had Williams on trial for murder and arson.
Yeah, I was angry because I couldn't believe that people were getting on the stand and saying what they were saying, and it was nothing I could do about it.
Because he claims his court-appointed attorney failed to defend him, ignoring his phone calls and never let him take the stand to defend himself. A jury convicted Williams, sentencing him.
Because a public defender is never here in the case, never here to help a black folk. Public defender is working for the government. Public defender and the prosecutor and the government, they're all friends. You know what I mean? It's a waste of time to use a public defender, to be honest. You better put your money up. But in this case, if you have money, that's the problem. Oh my.
To life in prison.
I told myself that I could live with me keeping myself in prison, but I couldn't live with somebody else keeping me in prison.
In prison, Williams got to work with the defiant will of an innocent man. He spent years in the law library, writing letters and filing requests, determined to prove he wasn't a cold-blooded killer.
I wrote so many letters, I think the blisters on my hands going away now.
Dwayne's persistence paid off. In 2018, his FOIA request led to a stunning revelation. An original fire report that had been altered.
Oh my God.
For was the police file. Well,
alter the fire report. So that coroner is supposed to go to prison, to be honest. The police is supposed to spend decades in jail and rot and don't come out. Could you imagine the injustice? They changed the police report. Yeah,
they sent me was a fire report.
Look at the original Detroit fire report and compare it to this one from the prosecution. The original report mentions a Zippo-style lighter found near the couch, right where the fire started.
I noticed that it says something about a lighter in it, and a lighter in the area of origin of the fire. Well, the fire investigator testified there was nothing there.
Lieutenant McNulty never mentioned any smoking materials in his final fire report or when he testified for the prosecution. In 2021, Dwayne's battle for justice intensified when he convinced the state's appellate defender office to represent him. And Wayne County's Conviction Integrity Unit started reviewing his case, prosecuted by Luisa Papalis.
I remember reading his letter and
Mexican lady, as always.
There's no way that this actually happened. Like,
Dead.
I've seen a lot of bad things, but that's a whole nother level of prosecutorial misconduct. Are you a
Shia Baum, who you saw there, founded Firefly Advocates, and it's that key organization in this that provided Williams with the legal assistance he needed. More from him when we come back. Plus, the disturbing pieces of evidence Dwayne Williams and his defense never knew about, what it finally took to free him, and whether anyone has been held accountable for layers of violations and injustice. Dwayne Williams endured 12 grueling years in prison, not due to the actions of one officer, but through the coordinated efforts of multiple law enforcement officials. Records reveal that evidence proving his innocence was deliberately altered and suppressed, while police and prosecutors allowed a case based on a false confession to send him to prison for life. This is Taryn Asher from Fox 2 News.
Hey, I don't wish to talk to you about it. I don't wish to talk to you about that. If you want to run a story, you run your story. But the facts are speak for themselves.
Well, the facts are out there, and you haven't been held accountable for misconduct.
And that's the direction you want to go. You go ahead and do what you...
No. Do you want to explain what's going on, how you got that confession? Michael Russell, the DPD
Racist
sergeant
cop.
on Dwayne Williams' case, shut down my attempt to hear about the false confession and why key pieces of evidence were withheld, including 58 photos from the fire scene with the Zippo-style lighter clearly visible. The images eventually discovered by the Conviction Integrity Unit, which also learned someone altered DFD Lieutenant McNulty's original fire report,
You're there.
whiting out key sentences about the lighter and other smoking items found at the scene that backed Williams' innocence. No one has admitted to altering the fire report, including Detroit Fire investigator Lieutenant Patrick McNulty, who I spoke to by phone. He told me he never testified about that lighter because the prosecution nor the defense asked him about it. But how could the defense attorney ask him about that lighter or any smoking materials if it was taken out of the fire report? And turns out, for his testimony, the jailhouse informant Gary Jennings was awarded $5,000 from the Michigan Arson Prevention Committee. And who did we learn is a member of that committee? The prosecutor on Williams' case,
Oh my
Louisa
God.
Popoulis. And because of Jennings' testimony, court records show he got a generous plea deal. Instead of prison, he only got probation.
To lie on the
Even
next
more
black
troubling,
man.
Sergeant Russell, who
The
took
white
the
system
informant's
pin two
incriminating
Negroes
statement,
against each other
had a
now.
history of falsifying evidence and coercing false confessions. In fact, it led to the wrongful conviction of 14-year-old Devontae Sanford, who spent almost a decade in prison for a quadruple murder he did not commit.
I couldn't believe that someone would go to that extent to throw an innocent man's life away.
Shia Baum, who founded the nonprofit Firefly Advocates, which provides legal and social services to inmates, has been helping to fight wrongful convictions. The motivation? Witnessing a flawed court system firsthand, but never imagined the layers of injustice until he says his organization took on Williams' case last spring.
I told this to the prosecutor, I said, you know this newly discovered evidence, it should at least entitle him to a new trial. And without saying the words, knowing that I would use them, she basically said, my job is to keep him in there. And I wasn't referring to Dwayne, it was someone else. And I said, no, your job is not to keep him in there. Your job is to get justice for the victims. And you're not doing that.
Last June, Judge Bradley Cobb apparently agreed, saying the state failed to disclose evidence that supported Williams' innocence. He vacated Williams' sentence while the Wayne County prosecutor decided whether to retry the case.
In my opinion, someone should go and look back at a lot of different cases if the same people are still handling cases like Dwayne's.
There's a good chance they are, and I learned they have even been promoted. Prosecutor Louisa Popoulis is now senior trial attorney in Wayne County Special Operations Unit,
Racist piece of
overseeing
shit.
arson fraud. Deputy Sergeant Michael Russell, who submitted the tip from the financially incentivized felon, didn't lose his arrest powers until 2016, when Devontae Sanford was exonerated. But 1 year later, Russell was promoted to lieutenant, eventually retiring from DPD in 2020. Firefly advocate Doris Hutchins can't understand why.
When you find out that maybe a detective or maybe a prosecutor did something that wasn't right, people should be held accountable.
To date, no one has been held responsible for sending Williams to prison. But it likely played a role in why the Wayne County prosecutor quickly decided not to retry Williams' case. On October 17th, 2024, Williams was exonerated and finally free.
So I can't
So while this man spent 12 years fighting for his freedom, you have young boys nowadays and youngsters, black men, giving away their life over nonsense, taking up the gun that is made by this white system to hold us down. All of these kind of things. Imagine 12 years, that's a lot of time to even get back what you can get back, because once the time run out, time already run out. Once time has passed, time has passed. It's disturbing and troubling, but we're not surprised. Where's freedom? We always say we don't have the skin for our protection. Okay? Peace and love.